on, join in on the fun and grab your glue gun. It's the Preppy Crafty Girl Show.
Hey everyone, it's Jonna, the Preppy Crafty Girl, and I am here for a flip through of my final Prairie Girls Gather journals, and she is a chunky, pretty big journal. I had so much fun creating her. This will be going up in the shop when you see this video. It will be available in my Etsy shop, which will be linked below. And along with the journal and the tassel, and you will get a bag of ephemera. There are some offcuts of some of the pages I use. There's some handmade paper. There are tags and journaling cards and handmade ephemera in here too. Some things I made on the show. You get some vintage pieces and little journal spot, a little booklet right here, vintage recipe cards, tags. So this will be alongside of the journal, and also you will be receiving a pattern for the Sunbonnet Sue block of the month, Stars and Scraps Quilt Shop, directions, and you have all the little pieces. So you can either use these how you wish, or you can make the quilt block if you're that way, or you can just iron these on together on a piece of paper or on this white backing, and you will have that good to go. So that's going to come with the journal. Let me show you. The tassel and charm are detachable, so it's just put on there with a bull clip, and then has all kinds of fun vintage buttons and game pieces, and I put an S on there for Sunbonnet Sue or sunbonnet, and then there's a little gardening piece and some really pretty beads and a little thimble, and I did some handmade charms on my Trinket Tuesday, so you will see these on here. My friend cut down a piece of wood for me into little discs, because every little Prairie Girl, you know, has to have a little outdoorsy. This is a sunbonnet vintage fabric bead that I made, and so I put that on there. We did this on Trinket Tuesday, and then there's all kinds of fun ribbons, vintage rickrack and vintage crochet ribbons, and then there's this one that says "C'est la vie" on it, and velvet. There's some really pretty blue velvet, some printed on ribbons, and yeah. So there's that, and I stitched on a really pretty button that matches. So we'll set that aside, and we will get into the goodies. There's some twill ribbon that I just tied with it. You can use that or not, but it has like happiness in the family, live life to the fullest, thankful, love more, gratitude. This would make a great gratitude journal, gratitude and grace, count your blessings, love more. So it just has that, and I just tied it around it just to keep it closed. And this is the cover, and the cover is squishy and fun. It has 5 signatures in it. This is quilt blocks. I quilted this. This is from a vintage quilt that I own, and so I cut her out of there, and she is puffy on the journal. And then this is just a soft-sided journal, and then that's the back. So there's some embroidery back here and some quilted little pieces of vintage fabric. The inside has a pocket with the Sunbonnet Sue fabric that my sweet friend Kelly had sent me to use in this journal. I made this on a live, I believe, or a video you can see on my channel, and then you will receive a handwritten card from me. Just I'll try to put one of those in some of my journals. I incorporated this old little book that I had. It's a soft-sided book, but I thought because she was so sweet with the little bird, and it's called Anna and Peter. I think it's from Germany, and it's called The Little Bird. and it has him fishing down here but catching a boot, and she's down here, and you can write where the who, like you can put your name or you can do a dedication on there. And then this opens up, and then you have a tag in this pocket, and of course burlap. I have a hand-dyed CD pocket, and then there's a belly band over here. This opens up. I didn't really care for the text on this kid's book. It was about like a fox, and the fox was hunting something, but I loved this is the lumber mill. I think the fox was going after the geese is what he was doing. And I love the fact that it had the farm, and it has color, and then this side is black and white. So I loved the illustration, and then that is the colored side. I just thought it was so pretty. So this journal is basically not all Sunbonnet Sue. I just embodied all the bonnet girls in here. So you'll see nods to Holly Hobby, Sunbonnet Sue. There may even, if she was wearing a bonnet, she's in here. This is an old, I think this was from like the Memphis. I forgot. This is an old ledger. It's on another page, so I'll tell you where it is from. And then this was a ledger not written on. Adorable wrapping paper. Here's some 1970s wallpaper that I have, a 1970s wallpaper book, but they made this even look more vintage. So I thought she was really cute, just sitting in her rocking chair with the flowers. And it's old ads is what the wallpaper was, and it was from Borden. So, and then this is a pocket that I made, and I put some little I tucked them in there, and you can put your pictures on there or mementos in the pocket. This is Heidi Swap file folder, and I just thought it was so pretty. That's another thing that's in here. You're going to see a lot of beautiful, beautiful scrapbook paper. I pulled out some really pretty older scrapbook paper that I have, and I think you'll enjoy going through it. This is some old Cartabella that I have. It's when they used to do the wallpaper feeling. I don't know. You'll feel it. It's very interesting texture. Then I have, this is from Angela's printable. So I made a little pocket. So you will see a couple of things show up in here just from our Prairie Girls Gather, but everything in here is pretty much original, antique, or vintage, or handmade. And then I did put a nod to the Prairie Girls Gather by using some of Carol's printables and some of Angela's, but it's not packed full of them. So there's some, this goes in the pocket, and then you can also tuck something behind it. And I just put some journaling spots that you can cut out and use however you want. And so I just put those in there. This is some beautiful embossed or debossed antique sheet music. I just love the texture on this paper. And then here's a little sack with a little tag and I made, and then you can put whatever you want inside of there. But I thought the orange was really pretty with this seed packet or old seed book that I have. And then I just put a little fabric cluster down there. It's ideals. Here is some vintage typing paper that I have, and then the other side of that seed or bulb. I think there's like bulbs and seeds in this. This is a vintage catalog. And then I made this in one of my lives, and it's just a little card. And then you can pull this out and you can journal back here, and that's just tucked into the other side of the bag. And here's the other side of the Heidi Swap file folder. So the integrity of these pages are really nice, kind of gives it a, helps the vintage pieces that may be a little weaker, helps them out. I made this on a live. It's just a little scrappy notepad that's tucked in this pocket. And this is one of my collaged pockets. And that has some of the real antique wallpaper, has some stamps on here, old French paper, and then I just put a little dictionary thing at the top. We made these on one of the Trinket Tuesday lives, and so I had to put that on here. And she has one of these little sunbonnet girls on the charm and a little butterfly at the bottom. And I love this trim. Just love it with the flower. And there's some lace. And then this is from a tea towel that I had with some kind of embroidery on it. But because it had that blue, I just loved it with this. Plus I have a ruffle, and that's on the other side of the vintage wallpaper. And there's the other side of the gift wrap. Okay, it was from the Memphis Milling Company. That's where that one was from. And then this is from 1934. Here's another page out of that book. And then one of my tags that I made using decoupaged vintage tissue paper, and I just put some vintage fabric at the top, and that's just clipped in with one of my altered clips that I made. It says little cabin on it. And then here is the back side of that book. And here is, I just put a journaling spot on there. And then this was published in Spain. So I have just clipped in here a envelope pocket from a children's sewing pattern, but I thought she was really cute with her little bonnet on, and their little matching outfits were just adorable. So I just clipped that on there. You can do with it what you want. And I put it on another one of my altered paper clips, and I clipped it in with, this is a Holly Hobby card. Thanks for your hospitality. She is tending her garden, and this is just clipped in, and I stenciled on the back side of that paper, some hand-dyed paper, ledger, vintage wallpaper. I love this wallpaper. And then I put on a ruffle there. Here's one of those little notes, the one you fold and mail, and she's cute. She's got a little bonnet on. This is a placemat doily and some vintage gift wrap, which I love, the checks and the plaids, so cute. Some antique sheet music, and here's some more of this really pretty paper with a ruffle on the edge. I didn't do anything on the back of this. Some of them I did and some of them I didn't, because I know some people like to do their own artwork, so I did leave some white space on here. There's from an old catalog that I have. This is another vintage ledger that I have. I love the aging on this ledger. Oh my gosh. And a botanical book. And then this has a little pocket down here. And this is an antique button right here that I thrifted, a big 10 of them. I did a video on it, and I just love this one, so I put it on here. And then there is a book out of that page from Anna and Peter page. They're just so cute. And then it has boyhood. I put that opposite the boy. It says, "Poor little bird," said Peter, "we will take you home with us and give you some nice bread and milk to eat." Did birds eat milk? I don't know. Drink milk. This is the other side of the ideals. This is some scrapbook paper. And then I've got notes in here. I have an antique children's reader that is from like super, super old. And it actually has some illustrations on the inside right here. So I think, is this about like Tom Thumb? Yeah, it's about Tom Thumb. And then this is the report to be sent to the town clerk, and this is for the summary report from Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, and it has like the farm and acreage and crops, and it's from it says 1939, but at the top somebody penciled in 1940. This is an original document. Cute little girl watering her garden. And then this is an antique quilt that I had, and I made pockets out of them. So you have that in there. I just thought the colors were gorgeous. And then I added this little yellow, that's why I put the little yellow watering can on there, because it kind of goes with her little watering can. And then there's some really nice paper again, and I used Felicity Jane, and I used, this is basic gray, I believe. And then you have this really pretty vintage card, and then there's just a little piece of scrapbook paper back here that you can add in anywhere, and then another piece of that antique quilt that I had. And then this is a pocket that my friend actually made me and sent me some happy mail in, and I thought it went so cute with this journal. So I put 2 little tags in here, and then I did a collage tag that goes in the back. So I repurposed that. So thank you, Kelly, for that. And then this has a sunflower little note card, and then this is one of those Post-it note, they were called. And isn't that pretty? From my ideals book. Another page out of that book. Oh, and Angela had sent me this to put in these journals, and it is a little chore. And she's got a little yellow watering can too, so super cute there. Ledger and that gardening, again, this garden book. And then there is the Holly Hobby pocket in here, and then it has this, I did this on the Prairie Girls Gather. It's like a scrappy notepad, and use my antique stamps up there to stamp at the top. There's Pioneer Printing, and again, I made these in a video, and they're just altered playing card paper clips. And then this is the back side of everything that you just saw. This is from 1956, somebody's notes from school. And then I did ink on that one. And then this is I do have some little bead dangles on the pages. I think there's like 3 or 4, not sure. Okay, this is one of Angela's printables, and I used her as a focal point. Here's some more of that notebook paper, and then I've got this little pocket that I made, and it has this little journaling spot, and then this just tucked in back there. And again, I did some stenciling, and I have a little cluster on here, and this is some of the paper I did with Hazel Anaka. We jelly printed, so I jelly printed on some tea-dyed paper, parchment, and cute little plain card tucked on there, some vintage wrapping paper that I'm sharing. I have used this in my own journal, and I have a little piece left, so I tucked it in here. And then I've got this cute little lady tending her garden, and these are from a vintage quilt that I have. And so it's all yo-yos, and it's falling apart. So I have been delicately taking it apart, and I just love using them as a belly band. That's some vintage stationery, and there's a cluster, one of my clusters on the back side. And this came out of a Career and Ives book that I had. The pages are perfect for big journals, and I just think that these were so pretty, of like farmlands, and it says the farmer's home. There is a tag at the top, and then this really cute little picture of the girls talking, saying twinkling in the sky, pointing to. And then I love this one because here's the doll, and she's sitting amongst all the little art supplies. I thought that's cute. This was a really cute book. I forgot which one it came out of, but it was a really cute book. And then there's some dictionary paper, another cluster on some hand-stitched sewing page of a book, and here is a vintage recipe by, I'm not really sure. This is called, it says Edgewater in beef stroganoff. Edgewater in beef stroganoff. Yum. So that gets tucked in, and then I have some sprayed index cards in this little envelope. This is a center page, and it is a calendar that I had, but I just loved all that. Just the harvest coming in from the fields. And then I left one half of this is upside down. People like using it because of the numbers and things like that. So, but I did cover one of the other sides. And here is a map. And then the dictionary and parchment. And I stenciled on the other side of this book page. This is the other side of the Western Farmer's Home. And here I put in a piece of this antique ledger from I think 1889, or 1887. But oh, the handwriting is just fabulous. And then here's another one of my little paper clips, altered paper clips, and the other side. And I leave the envelopes in here sometimes because they are fun to take something and you can fold it, and then you can just use it like, you know, to do some kind of inclusion. So I do leave those there. I like doing that. Parchment. Then this opens up, and I stenciled on that page. And then this is a little Sunbonnet Sue that I hand cut and put her together. I made the pattern myself. Thank you very much. She's so cute. And here's some ledger or notepad, stencil paper. I love this Felicity Jane paper. It's just gorgeous, gorgeous cut tones. I loved this paper. Oh my goodness. I forgot who made this paper, but it is gorgeous. Those birds, and it has the sparkles on it. And here is another sunbonnet baby, and I put a vintage flashcard in here, and it's an altered bag, and on the other side has some rusted paper, and then you just pull that out and you can journal on that if you want, or add a photo, or just leave as is. Pink. This is some avocado dyed paper that I did recently. I just love how it turned out. And then the other side of that book, which is so gorgeous. Look at her with her little bonnet. She's gathering apples. Here is a bag or sack, and I stitched it in here and did a journal card. A tag, layaway tag, or inventory tag, and some airmail paper. This is antique wallpaper that I have, and you can see the gold gild on it. This is gorgeous antique wallpaper. It's just beautiful. And then another page from that book. She's so cute. They're so cute. And then my friend Carol gave this for us to use in our book. So I put this in here, the Prairie, and I did a little time card back here and says Chores and Charm. And then this is the inside. And she has a little bonnet on. And so she's got her bonnet on there. So I did include her. She's out here with the goats. And then we made these on one of my lives, and in here is a little tree flashcard, and that's just stuff on there. Another one of these fun CDs and CD envelopes. Here is some of hand-dyed paper. It was an envelope, and I hand-dyed and rusted it. And then it has a journal card in here, and that's just tucked onto here, which you can glue it down if you want. And then I hand cut another one of those little sunbonnets. That's the other side of the antique paper. And then I just decoupage on that jelly print and stencil. And then here's a little pocket right here. Here's another one of those book pages. Look how cute they are with their little bonnets on. That's what I'm saying. This one has really sweet little images on here. And then there's another little beaded leaf. And here is a little dangle at the top that's beaded and has some lace and stamped fabric. An altered envelope and just held on with a paper clip. A lot of this stuff's held on with a paper clip so that you can make it yourself. You can move it around how you need to. That's how I like to do it. And then I've got this little beaded clip here, some tags, and then this has a little something in it. I forgot. I made it. I stamped that on from a stamp that I have. Here's a little scrappy notepad and a journal card. And this is from an old I don't want to say it was Denison, but I have a feeling that it was. I forgot. Now I made them a while ago. So let me put the glue on there. And you have to put the pin back in here or it gets stuck. The glue gets stuck down in there. Okay, ledger, an envelope. This is Holly Hobby Book page. Look how cute she is. Carol sent me this to use in the Holly Hobby Book. And then this is an antique from the 1887, a children's somebody's autograph book from school. And then this is another altered playing card. And no, this was a tally card. That's right. This opens. That was a tally card that opens, and then some scrappy notepad and another tag that I made from decoupaging on some tissue paper that I had. Here is a scrappy tag that I made, and then this came out of one of the printables that I had on my Ko-fi shop, and this is from that's gift wrap wallpaper. Mary, quite contrary. Look at her. She's so cute with her little bare feet. I just love that image. And then you have these guys playing the fiddle over here, and I did a little tuck pocket back there. And some more bonnet children. Of course, you have to have the country. You got to be making pies. So, I included an old pie. Look at this with the red crusts on here. It's a primer of pretty pie tops. And then here's another altered vintage playing card, and he's got his little bonnet on. And then these girls came out of a 1970s catalog, and she has a bonnet girl on her. Here's another dyed index card, some vellum, pretty printed vellum. Of course, I had to put these little tree notes that you can put on there, just tuck them in there, little tree. There's some vintage tickets on a vintage to and from. Here is this map journaling spot that I made in Alive. So just tuck that in there. Wrapping paper, and then this is a pocket that has some stuff tucked up in there. Some wallpaper border that I went ahead and inked on the back side to match this beautiful, yes, I shared it, some beautiful map. Oh my goodness, this is one of my favorite atlases. I just love it. It's gorgeous. So I left you the whole thing, the whole page just to love on. And then these are from Carol Crinkle Path. This was her printable, so I did a little nod to her and just tucked them in there. This is tucked up in there, and it is a decoupaged collage envelope that I made. Tuck your treasures in there. Here is the other side of this adorable gift wrap. I love that vintage gift wrap. And then tea dyed. And I believe I rusted this. This may be tea dyed and rusted. I forget. But anyway, graph paper. Here's a antique postcard of a young gentleman out in his field with the farm in the background. So this would even be a great gardening journal also, if you love the garden, because there's a lot of like gardening and farming in it also. And then here's a seed packet for zinnias. The other side of this article on pies. Look at him with his little bonnet holding the puppy. He's got a little hat on too. Handwriting paper, ledger, and then just a little collaging there. This is a card, and I put in one of Carol's Crinkle Path. I put it on tea-dyed paper. I printed it out on tea-dyed paper. And this is Angela's printable. And then here is a little ad for pie. She has her little bonnet on. It's on here with, I just have a little paper clip on there. And then there is another bonnet girl back here. So all things bonnet girls. And then in the back pocket, I put in the history of Little Fanny, and it is from London 1810. That's the story. And this was printed in 1980. And it gives you the little story. And then it has, so it's a little booklet. And then in here is the paper doll set. So this all came together, and I just tucked this in the back because I thought she was really cute, and I thought you would enjoy her, and it's a little activity for you to do because I always have to put some kind of activity in my journals. That's just me. Okay. So that is my flip through of the Sunbonnet girl. She will be in my shop when you see this, and I would love it if you would give this video a thumbs up. You would subscribe. Let me know what you're doing this winter and this season to keep crafting, to keep yourself inspired. And I hope to be back shortly with some creative videos. I've got my own journal I need to be working on. Oh, I wanted to tell you this was a 3-inch spine, but I think it kind of went up to, yeah, it's a 3-inch. I believe it's 3 inches. I forgot to, it's like a little over 3, and then it is, let me see, 7 by 10. So now you have an idea of what the size is. Okay, so I will see you soon. Bye guys, hope you enjoyed it.
The preppy craft girl living in her crafty world. She loves creating junk